Hey everyone, this is Erik. Another great day of recovery. I'm here going to be talking a little bit about step 4, 10, and 11. I've entitled this, I forgot the title, but it's something to do with, help me to see myself as I really am or seeing what we need to see. I had a friend in recovery share this with me. It was actually quite something. She has years and years of sobriety. She may actually be one of the older members of more sobriety than a lot of people, but she has this prayer that says, "God, help me to see what I need to see." And so I've been pondering that. Like that's a good prayer. God, help me to see what I need to see, and just be open to it, and to fearlessly look at myself. And I've had opportunity the past couple of weeks to do that. Not really good at it, but I know what to do and experience some benefits from that. I did have one of our viewers bring up a really good question. He asked the question, "What do you do?" And I hopefully I get this correct. He says, "What do I do when he's doing a four-step inventory?" Kind of like we were talking about, seeing the other person is perhaps spiritually sick, though I do not like their symptoms. They, like ourselves, are sick too. When you start to, by God's grace, kind of pry, it feels like prying open my heart and seeing what's there. He said his struggle was that he felt a lot of anger or a lot of intense feeling. As I've had a few days to process it, I think actually that's about right. Um, I don't know anybody who does this and, hey, look at me, I found 5 new defects. I'm so thrilled about that. Yeah, I don't think it goes that way. It's a like, oh, yikes. It's kind of like if you own a house and that's a good metaphor. I've been there. It's flooding. It's like, are you kidding me? You go downstairs and it's flooded. It's like, what a mess. Nightmare. You're up all night. You're scooping up water. You know there could be mold. You know you have to call the restoration service. Or it's like finding mold in one's house, or like finding a diagnosis of something you didn't want to see. You know, it's painful at first. And I do think that there's spiritual affliction that happens to us. Um, so a remedy for this is kind of, I'm so into the AA book, but there is another book that I think is useful. It's called The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous here. There's many different covers. It's kind of like advanced. I tried to get sober using this book. It didn't get work. It didn't work. But it's a really good book on deeper levels of sobriety. The AA book tells you how to get sober. This was written years later, and it's the nuances. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at step 4 here. And this is kind of like an appetizer to really get you into it. It's just such a good book, and it's shocking how well it's written. So, step 4 made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Creation gave us instincts for a purpose. So, we could say God gave us instincts. Without them, we wouldn't be complete human beings. So the book is going to talk about normal instincts, but when these instincts go out of control, they go crazy. So a sense of self and a sense of connection with our creator and a proper eyesight of where we are turns into pride, or a proper sense of healthy eating and eating for sustenance and some enjoyment goes to gluttony, or we start to get work addicted, or we start to get, like our sense of choice and power that God gave us free will. We then starts to go crazy with power mad, and start to control the lives of others. He didn't give us free will for that purpose. In fact, it would be a demonstration of what he doesn't do, which is control us. And so then who are we to try to control others? Okay. So, yet these instincts, so necessary for our existence, often far exceed their proper function. Powerfully, blindly, many times subtly, they drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives. The early church would have called this a passion. I'm going to skip around here. When thus out of joint, man's natural desires cause him great trouble. Practically all the trouble there is. No human being, however good, is exempt from these troubles. That's a true statement. Nearly every serious and emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirected instinct. That would help me have more patience with others to see that everybody's doing the best they know to do it, even if they're trying to take over the world, take over our county, or, a number of things. When this happens, our greatest natural assets, the instincts, have turned into physical and mental liabilities. So, step 4 is our vigorous and painstaking effort to discover what these liabilities in each of us have been and are. Again, beautifully written. We want to find exactly how, when, and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction. Without a willing and persistent effort to do this, there can be little sobriety or contentment for us. Without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us have found that the faith which really works in daily living is still out of reach. Yeah, this is so well put. I mean, would there be wars that could be avoided if people just took inventory? Um, how many of our problems just go down to these misguided instincts? And once you think like that, then a lot of step 10 and 11 is asking God to help straighten us out and to get back to their proper function. So, a person who's asking, well, why do I get so upset or angry and all that? I think it's more spiritual warfare. It could be that our instinct is now mad that we look at ourselves, but I'm going to go into that. It's so good writing. I hate to just skip over things, but I think it's important to just get the gist of this. Um, it says, we have also seen men and women who go power mad, who devote themselves to attempting to rule their fellows. That's just codependency. And again, this wasn't written for codependency or politicians, rather. This was written to just people that were struggling with addiction. I think some of us are more power mad than others. These people often throw to the winds every chance for legitimate security and a happy family life. Whenever a human being becomes a battleground for the instincts, there can be no peace. But that is not all of the danger. Every time a person imposes his instincts unreasonably upon others, unhappiness follows. So let's twist this around a bit, because this will be a twist. What if I read this with the context of saying, hey, how come the government officials shouldn't rule our life? But see, that's my desire to try to rule the world the way I want to rule it. You see, so it's so contagious. So I'm at my best when I say, God, I'm surrendering my life to you, and you do what you want me to be. And maybe I'm supposed to live in a country or a state or a marriage, not my marriage, but like a marriage. I mean, my marriage isn't this way, but where my wife's power mad and wants to control. If the truth be told, I'm more of the power mad person who wants things that I want. Yeah, so that's the disease, okay? Um, Let's see here. So, in these ways, we are set in conflict not only with ourselves, but with other people of instincts too. I'm going to go to two. This is what prompted me to talk about this. The reality is that doing step 4, they have outlined two directions we can go. We can go on the temperamentally the depressed side. We're apt to be swamped with guilt and self-loathing. We wallow in this messy bog, often getting a misshapen and painful pleasure out of it. As we morbidly pursue this melancholy activity, we may sink to such a point of despair that nothing but oblivion looks possible as a solution. Here, of course, we have lost all perspective and therefore all genuine humility. For this is pride in reverse. By the way, this is such a great quote. I may add this to my definition of humility is losing perspective. It's actually such a good quote. C.S. Lewis said, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, just thinking about yourself less. Okay. So we're praying to see things as they really are. So this is an obsession with self in reverse. But here's the other extreme. If, however, on if our natural disposition is inclined to self-righteousness or grandiosity, I hate to say this, our reaction will be just the opposite. We will be offended at AA's suggested inventory. No doubt we should point with pride to the good lives we thought we led before the bottle cut us down, or even while the bottle was cutting us down, or while we just don't think in terms of having problems. We really just are oriented to thinking other people have problems. Yeah. We shall claim that our serious character defects, if we think we have any at all, had been caused chiefly by excessive drinking. This being so, we think it logically follows that sobriety, first, last, and of all time, is the only thing we need to work for. We believe that our one time good characters will be revived the moment we quit alcohol, or spending, or lust, or overeating, or working, or fixing others. If we were pretty nice people along, except for our drinking or our addiction problem or fixing codependency, what need is there for a moral inventory now that we are sober? So this implies that the person was doing a four-step inventory after being sober. But my heart says it's good that yes, you're doing it while you're sober, but you may be only a week sober, and this can have little permanent effect unless you do step 4. This is out of the AA book. This is a great quote again. Our present anxieties and troubles we cry are caused by the behavior of other people who really need a moral inventory. We firmly believe that if we only they treat us better, we'd all be right. I hate to tell you this, people, but that's exactly what I experienced last week. Yes, if you heard my story, you go, "Oh, Erik, you're so justified." I'm kind of convinced of it because I was so right. But as I did a moral inventory on this, and I won't say what it was because it would, I think other people might feel bad, and it wasn't my immediate family, but I really, I was going to say clearly was in the right, but that's not the point. The point is, I have to see it from another point of view. My wrong becomes how I'm reacting or responding to life. You can see a person's true character by how they respond to such matters. And I was judgmental, I was self righteous, I was comparing. And then I dawned on me, I had done this with certain people and never said anything to them that I'm aware of. I would have appeared nice and kind and patient. And when I got together with them, I was probably in a really good mood. But when I'm alone, I would entertain these assaultive thoughts. Logisme is a Greek word that would suggest, wow, they're kind of dysfunctional. Wow, if they could just get boundaries. Wow, this, wow, that. And that's wrong for me to say. They weren't asking my opinion. I don't need to be critical. And it's not helping me any, because it's just further adding to the log in my own eye while I'm trying to take the speck out of someone else's. Because that's the reality of it. This really isn't new. This is as old as Jesus's words that said, first take the log out of your own eye. Okay. And this is a clincher. Therefore, we think our indignation is justifiable and reasonable, that our resentments are the right kind. We aren't the guilty one, they are. Yeah, that's such a trip. So, you know, the sponsors who of those who feel they need no inventory are confronted with quite another problem. So let's go back here. When the sponsors come to the rescue, uh, they're going to this sponsor promptly proves by talking freely and easily and without exhibitionism about his own defects, past and present. That's what I do. And it comforts the person I'm with. I can't really do a four-step inventory with someone without talking about my problems. This calm yet realistic stock taking is immensely reassuring. The sponsor probably points out that the newcomer has some assets which can be noted along with his liabilities. Yeah, really important to look at what's good, and that's where I twist it around. Looking at the stuff is great. And then the sponsors of those who feel they need no inventory are confronted with another problem. And this is because people who are driven by pride of self unconsciously blind themselves to their liabilities. These newcomers scarcely need comforting. The problem is to help them discover a chink in the wall of their ego has built through which the light of reason can shine. My gosh, who wrote this? This is such a good writing. Yeah. So really important to not do four-step alone. That's the other thing I suggested to our viewer is that this was never really meant to be a solitary activity. I mean, yes and no. The initial inventory, you have someone help you to show you how to do it because this is not writing every resentment you've ever had under the sun or every fear and then wallowing and marinating in that. No, it's to get in, get out, and leave with your defects so that you know what to pray about. But once you get good at it with sponsors and people and even support calls, then you can pray about things like I did. I mean, that's what I did. I was processing things with people, but I will tell you what did. I mean, I got more sympathy is what I got, and I loved the people I called, but they were going, "Well, that's sad." But what I needed was to go to God in prayer and say, "God, just show me myself. Help me to see what you want me to see." And I was able to see that I had years of judgmentalism towards people. And so, how am I going to solve this? In this case, step 9 for me is making indirect amends, trying to commit to letting God remove these defects of criticalness and taking one day at a time to move in the right direction and to be kind and patient and pray for the people I've harmed there. So, well, you take care and have a great day in recovery. I will put in the link description how to find the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Take care.